So let's talk about the writing shed. I'm fascinated by this. Mm-hmm. I read that it has no Wi-Fi, and no phones. Is that?
Yeah. How am I talking to you then, right? It has an Ethernet cable. So every day at the end of the day, I hook up the Ethernet cable, and I leave it there long enough for all the computers in the house to sync up. So I have, and that way I don't lose work. That way the computer here backs up to the cloud. So I never lose more than a day's work, even if there's a crash. Because I have lost more than a day's work in the past, so now I am paranoid. But if you unhook the Ethernet cable, which is very easy to do, there's a little switch right behind me on the desk, then it's completely offline out here. Yeah, which is great. I love that.
I had a computer stolen, and I lost the first 10 chapters of the original version of All Together Now, which, if it had been like 40, forget it, I'm not writing those again. Because it was just 10, I think it was just an opportunity to revise and improve and write a brand new version. But then I became a backup, what's the word, religious about backing up from then on. What's the most you've ever lost?
Half a novel. Same thing. It was a computer. My computer and my notebook and its external backup, because I was traveling, were all in one bag. And the bag was lifted out of a taxi or a van or something. I don't remember. But yeah, it was I think about 50,000 words, and I didn't rewrite it. I cannibalized parts of it and used it again in the future, but in a completely unrecognizable way. So I don't know if anybody's been following me online for 15 years. I don't know that there is anybody, but I used to be writing this Aztec novel. I'm never going to write the Aztec novel. Yeah.
Oh, you never say never. I mean, it might come back to you someday, right?
No, but I used the part of it that really fascinated me. I used the idea of the Aztecs famously performed human sacrifice to keep the universe in order. And one of the sets of people that they sacrificed were kind of children who were raised to it in a really, they were half divine, very privileged, very nearly royal children who were raised in a life of privilege. And as far as you can tell from the fact that, they didn't survive to write their own story down, were willing to do this. And and then they turn 15 or whatever. I don't remember. It's been 15 years since I did the research. They reach a certain age, or the moment comes around and they're sacrificed to keep the universe in order. And I use that idea. In a science fiction setting. So that's the basic idea behind the Scorpion rules. Is these are literally the children of royalty who are being kept hostage to global peace. So there's an organization, there's a mad AI that runs something that calls itself the UN, that takes the children of royalty hostage. And if your country ever goes to war, then, your royal kid gets the chop. A system which has worked for them to keep peace for 400 years. And so the lead character is one of these people who has for 7 generations been raised to this and is willing to go along with it. So I used the whole idea, and so I won't go back and use it again in its original setting. I scrapped it for parts. So.
Well, it sounds like, though, in your version, it kind of is effective. I mean, 400 years, that's
400 years
hard to argue with.
400 years of peace is hard to argue with. Yeah, it's kind of, it got the original jacket and packaging on it was very dystopian. It was very Hunger Games Divergent kind of packaging around it. And I'm like, really, guys? Because this is not a dystopia. This is a system that's working. It's a difficult world, but except for the 7 kids at the center of this, everybody else is getting a pretty good deal. And there's one of them who's the fish out of water, whose, country recently underwent a revolution, and he gets thrown in at the deep end, whereas all the rest of them have been raised to it. And he's like, let's overthrow the system! And they're like, A, should we? And B, can we? So his role is mostly to get his friends into danger and trouble. So he's in any other book he would be the hero, and in this book he's kind of like, Elliot, sit down, shut up. So, love him. He's very brave. He's very smart. But yeah, he's not as clued in as the rest of them, and so he manages to be both a monkey wrench and a kind of hero at the same time. He's interesting, but it's not his story; it's the other person's story.
And this may be a question you choose not to answer, which is perfectly fine. But were you able to resolve the philosophical question in your head of whether or not that's okay? That if you're one of the 7, you'll just take one for the team? No.
I mean, this is the big thing that this book is grappling with, and it's basically an unsolvable question, right? It's did you read The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas?
No.
No. Oh, you need to read that. It's a short story by Ursula K. Le Guin.
Okay.
And when I say short, I mean it's maybe 5-10 pages. It's very, very short.
I can knock that one out this afternoon, you bet.
Yeah. It's the story of there's a town called Omelas, which is perfect. It's, this joyful, wonderful, perfect town in which everything is working well. Except, for some reason, the reason that it's working well is there's a child being kept in a cellar who's just so miserable and neglected that they're hardly human. And everybody who stays in this town knows this. But there are a few people who, when they come and they see this, they're shown this child at a certain point, and they're explained that this is why and how it works. And they look at this child and they get really quiet, and then after a while they pack up their bags and they walk away. And the last line of that story is, they seem to know where they are going, the ones who walk away from Omelas. Le Guin was, she's a hero. She's so good. So I think it's a basically unresolvable question. How much are we willing to ask other people to sacrifice, and how much should we sacrifice ourselves for the greater good? It's one of those questions that we all have to grapple with, but nevertheless, it doesn't have an answer. So, most of my books come down to something huge and like, what are we going to do about death? Kind of question. And they don't come up with an answer. They just come up with a story.